Good evening and welcome to this digitally enabled online meeting of the Council of the Municipality of North Perth, held on Monday, April 12th, 2021. I'm Mayor Todd Kasenberg and I'll call this meeting to order. I ask the Deputy Clerk to note our starting time for the minutes as 7:01 p.m. At this time, I join my voice on behalf of this council with the many around the world who are grieving the passing of Prince Philip, the beloved husband of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. We acknowledge his stalwart support to our Queen over their very lengthy and wonderful partnership. I know some in this community have even had the privilege of meeting Prince Philip. He was a memorable man who lived through a remarkable time in human history. His love of his family and the Commonwealth were oft evident. His commitment to and passion for a number of community and global causes are legendary. I now call on all who are in attendance to observe a moment of silence to reflect on the life and legacy of the Duke of Edinburgh, Prince Philip. Today's meeting is being streamed live on the Municipality of North Perth YouTube channel and will be available there after the meeting as an archived video. Anyone who is invited to speak will be recorded and their voice, image, and comments will form part of the live stream. The chair and/or the clerk have the discretion and authority at any time to direct the termination or interruption of live streaming. Such direction will only be given in exceptional circumstances when deemed relevant. Circumstances may include instances where content of debate is considered misleading, defamatory, or potentially inappropriate to be published. Thank you. Welcome to those joining us via the YouTube channels. Welcome to councillors, staff, and delegations and experts who will participate in this meeting. At this time, I invite your decorum over the course of the coming meeting. We are having a few connection difficulties, it seems tonight, from some amongst our council, and our IT wizard, Simon, is working on this to see if we can resolve that, so we expect to see a quorum in due course. I'm going to change the inputs because I have a special message for the community at this time. That's this one. Okay. Testing. Think it's okay? All right, a special message to our community about COVID-19. Our community again is experiencing a shutdown. I want to first acknowledge that our community continues to be actively engaged in the work of stopping the spread of COVID-19 and its variants, which are now beginning to spread throughout Ontario and the world. We need to put a bit more effort into the range of personal actions that can help us calm the spread and impacts in our community. I have personally noticed a high compliance with mask wearing in public spaces, although the occasional lapses do concern me. But mask wearing is the bronze medal category for the efforts we should be making. Our silver medal effort is when we diligently maintain 2 meters of distance from others, not of our household, when we are in the presence of others. 2 meters is actually quite a bit of space.
When two people both extend their arms fully towards each other, that is generally still not quite 2 meters. The virus is airborne, so keeping that space keeps it away from our respiratory intakes. My observations in public spaces in North Perth is that we need to do better on the 2-meter item. The gold medal goes to those who stay home and who don't mix their households with others. This is the surest path to safety. I am uncertain about our performance on this matter. I've seen too many cars congregating in front of homes and in neighborhoods, especially over the Easter weekend. While that does not necessarily mean that we are offering a sub-gold performance, it seems likely when the car burden is not usual. If we can stay home, if we can work from home, we should be doing that. We need to plan our grocery shopping trips better so that we are not in and out of grocery stores multiple times per week. We should not be welcoming visitors to our own homes unless we are doing so resulting from a service call. As well, I have clearly observed a weak commitment to hand hygiene on entering those stores that are open. We need to clean our hands. It is not only a great practice, but an indicator that we are on board with the other COVID-19 precautions. Like many, I am tired of this pandemic. I haven't been in the same physical space with one of my sons for more than 16 months now, and it's hard. I've been in the same physical space with the other throughout the pandemic, and that too has its hard moments. I can even admit to questions about whether another lockdown is broadly called for, or whether it should have been narrowly applied. And I at times wonder if there aren't other measures to be considered, like stopping movement from area to area, which essentially creates vectors. I was on record calling for the province to share more of the data that it is collecting about case tracing and sources of outbreak. It has done so to some degree more recently, which I believe caused the outcry from many about the efforts to shut down in-restaurant dining, gyms, and hair salons, given the low apparent incidence of cases from those sources. But reservations or not, we are squarely here. Our task now is to buck up and do our part so that we don't see more of these lockdowns, which are harming our small business economy. I encourage you to remember that you live in community and that with such arrangement comes various responsibilities. We have been instructed by the province to keep to strict gathering limits during this shutdown, and I am pledged to say that we will comply. What will make this period tolerable is if we are kind, compassionate, and even hopeful. We, each of us, need to renew our commitments to winning gold, silver, and bronze medals in this period. We need to do our part to support our community's experience. I have a small suggestion in the public domain that we, as many as are able, reach out to support the businesses most harmed by this new shutdown. While there are many businesses affected, obvious ones in the retail space are restaurants, hair salons, and personal care services, and gyms. I want to suggest that each of us digs a little bit this month and gives the cost plus any tip for personal care services and gym membership to your favorite local business in those fields. I know, and you can already see it, that I will need a haircut in April that I'm not going to get, but I can give the cash value of that to a local salon as a gift. Pay for your month's membership to the gym of your choice, even if you can't go to it. Order takeout. I'm calling it #virtual-haircut and #virtual-workout. If you want, mutter about Mayor Todd's voluntary haircut tax, but help our businesses get through this month. They are so tired. It would be so easy for them to throw in the towel. Let's not let this happen. I have faith in this community. We are so able to overcome. Let us continue to do so.
Thank you, colleagues, for your indulgence. Let us move on then to item 2.1 on our agenda pertaining to pecuniary interest. For the benefit of those unfamiliar with our council practices, provincial legislation requires councillors with a potential pecuniary or financial interest in any item at the council table to declare this interest and to remove her or himself from discussions and voting on the item. In accordance with recommended protocol at this time, I invite all councillors with pecuniary interest, including those who have declared in writing, to verbally advise the chair in public session and to submit documentation to this effect in writing to the clerk. Councillors are further reminded that should any potential conflict arise during the meeting, they may so declare and act at any point in the meeting. Let's begin tonight with Councillor Anstead. Welcome, Councillor Anstead.
Thank you, Mayor Kasenberg. This evening, through you, I'd like to declare a pecuniary interest on item 5.4.1, the accounts, as my son attends the St. Mary's Daycare, and also on item 13.1, the confirmatory bylaw. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Anstead. Next up is Councillor Behrens. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Kasenberg. I will declare a conflict of pecuniary interest on 5.4.1, specifically the daycare accounts, as well as 13.1, the confirmatory bylaw, as I have grandchildren attending daycare centers within our municipality and also after-school programs. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Behrens. And next up is Deputy Mayor Kellum.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Kasenberg. I would like to declare pecuniary interest on 5.4.1, the accounts as well. 13.1, the confirmatory bylaw, is my mother and father-in-law are tenants of Perth Metals. Thank you.
Thank you all. Any other councillors with noted declarations to make at this time? We're not seeing any. So let me just move to brief descriptions of what happens now. To explain our virtual processes, I will be systematically trying to seek consent from various councillors as movers and seconders of the various resolutions and bylaws that will be put before us tonight. I will do this to some degree alphabetically. Should a councillor not wish to respond to the request, they may say so, and I will move to the next name on the alphabetical list. Regarding speaking to our business, councillors tonight will identify themselves through our conferencing technologies chat function. The clerk is assisting me tonight in maintaining the speaking order from that source. Councillors are allowed on their turn to deliver a primary question or comment and may make one supplemental without intervention from me. We will follow speaking order carefully, and any councillor wishing to have a second say will have to indicate again and go to the bottom of the speaking list. This is a normal process consistent with Robert's Rules of Order. Councillors are reminded that if you are not audible, I will call on you. You do not need to ask if you can be heard. I'll let you know. Councillors are further asked to maintain a mute state in the web conference until I have called upon you for a verbal reaction. Guests as well. Should any of your votes not show up in eScribe, our voting technology, I will call on you when things seem stalled to register a manual vote. At that time, take yourself off mute, answer yes or no on the motion, and then return to mute. Regarding item 2.2 of our agenda, I've been advised by the clerk of revision to the agenda, which should be considered in our next resolution. So I'm going to call on Clerk Bearfeltz once I set the AVA just right here, and then I'll give her the opportunity to explain. Please hold.
Council, tonight I'm recommending that we remove from agenda item 11, the closed session meeting, the item addressing advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose regarding professional services.
Thank you, Clerk Bearfeltz. Pursuant to her request here, I have a resolution that's amended from what is shown in our package. It reads as follows: that the agenda for tonight's meeting as amended be approved. Can I call on Councillor Richardson to be our mover for that?
I would like to move that. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Rothwell, will you serve as our seconder?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote.
I'm in favor. My vote didn't come up. I'll restart.
Thank you. So that is carried. Let's move on to agenda item 3, the so-called consent agenda. These items are placed on our agenda because they are believed to be non-contentious and informational, yet they do require council's recognition and or action. Grouping them expedites our business. However, any councillor wishing to extract an item or 2 or 3 from the consent agenda for discussion, debate, and individual action may do so. This is a hefty consent agenda tonight with 14 items on it, including the minutes of our last regular council meeting and a few others. So, councillors, do you have any desire to extract any of these items for further discussion or action? Please indicate through the chat function and we'll manage the list. Councillor Rothwell.
Thank you, Mayor Todd. I'd like to pull item 3.7, Blue Water Recycling Association minutes, please.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else have an item to extract from the agenda? I think what we'll do is we'll tackle the resolution for approval and then come back to that next. We're not seeing anything. Okay, so we have a resolution that reads as follows, that items 3.1 to 3.6 and items 3.8 to 3.14 be received for information and the following minutes be adopted. March 15th, 2021 regular council meeting, March 22nd, 2021 special council meeting, and March 29th, 2021 special council meeting. Can I call on Councillor Seiler to be our mover for that one?
I'll move that.
Thank you. And Councillor Andreessen, will you serve as our seconder?
Yes, I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Any discussion or debate on that one? So we've extracted 3.7. Everything else is in place. We have this duly moved and seconded. We're not seeing any indication of desire to speak, so let's have that vote.
I'm in favor.
Thanks, Councillor Rothwell. Yeah, we seem to be missing the described pull from your feed. So that's carried. Thank you. Now the floor is to you, Councillor Rothwell, with regards to item 3.7.
Thanks very much, Mayor Todd. For council's information, the Blue Water Recycling Association, we did discuss the Blue Blocks regulations that we've talked about for some time in terms of going to full producer responsibility. Were delayed at Cabinet. It was expected that Cabinet would give its approval on this much anticipated move to the benefit of all municipalities in Ontario and put the cost of recycling on the producers. We have had, or I have had conversations with our MPP, Randy Patapice, and he is aware of this issue, and as Blue Water Recycling Association understands is that the Premier himself wanted to address some questions that have been raised by some of the producers after many long conversations over the last 2 years. We're to understand that the matter will come back before Cabinet for its consideration and approval shortly, but I just want to underscore the fact that this is a very important piece of legislation for all municipalities in Ontario, that so we, under this program, would no longer be responsible for the costs of recycling programs throughout our municipality. So I'll do my best to keep this council informed on this matter, and if there's any questions, I'd be glad to address it. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Rothwell. Colleagues, do you have any questions for Councillor Rothwell, given his advanced understanding of current situation on this one? Okay, we're not seeing any indication of that. So what we need then is a motion to approve and receive item 3.7 on the consent agenda for information. Can I call on, let's see here, Councillor Anstett, will you serve as our mover for that?
Yes, I would move that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Behrens, will you serve as seconder?
Yes, I will second that motion. Thank you.
Thanks. Any discussion or debate on the receipt of item 3.7 with the additional information that Councillor Rothwell has gladly shared with us? Okay, hoping the deputy clerk, our trusted deputy clerk, has something for us to vote on here. We'll call for the vote.
I'm in favor.
Thanks.
I'm restarting again.
Yeah, thank you. So that is carried. Thank you. And thanks to Deputy Clerk Gear for being right on top of that too. All right. At this time, then, it's proposed we move to item 4 on our agenda. We have one public meeting to deal with land planning and use matters. To facilitate the public meeting, we must temporarily adjourn from our regular council meeting. I have before me a motion to make that happen that reads as follows. That the Council of the Municipality of North Perth adjourns at 7:23 p.m. for the purpose of public meetings under the Planning Act concerning the following. 1, an application for a zoning bylaw amendment by Melissa and Brian Breers. Can I call on Councillor Duncan to be our mover for this?
Yes, I'll move that.
Thank you. And Deputy Mayor Callum, will you serve as our second?
Yes, I will second that motion.
Thank you very much. Any discussion or debate on moving into a planning public meeting? Let's have that vote then. And that is carried. I'm glad to see e-scribe is fixed for you, Councillor Rothwell. That's encouraging. And so with that carriage, we'll adjourn from council temporarily for the purposes of this meeting, which I will say, welcome to. Welcome to a public meeting pursuant to the Planning Act for a proposed amendment to the North Perth zoning bylaw. This is a statutory public meeting pursuant to the Ontario Planning Act to deal with an application for an amendment to the North Perth zoning bylaw submitted by Melissa Mary Doris Breers, Brian Ronald Breers on behalf of property owner Catherine Ann Morton. Correspondence, reports, and comments received regarding this application will be considered by council. Those attendants remotely wishing to make any comment concerning this application will be given an opportunity to do so. Anyone wishing to appeal council's decision must make verbal submission during this public meeting or have made a written submission already to the council. Those who want to receive notice of the municipality's decision concerning this application must notify the clerk by email or telephone, giving their mailing address and telephone number. At this time, we will receive a summary of the application and amendment, and this will be delivered by North Perth planner Sean Yilmaz. Mr. Yilmaz, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Kasenberg. Actually, our student planner that has been helping us out, Robert Wilson, he helped prepare this report, so he's going to provide the summary if that's okay.
Thank you very much. Welcome, Mr. Wilson.
Good evening, Mayor Kasenberg, members of council. The application for the zoning bylaw amendment submitted by Melissa and Brian Breers on behalf of property owner Catherine Morton amends the zoning of the subject land to satisfy a condition of a related consent to sever for a lot addition. Application B36/20 has been provisionally approved to sever a rectangular shaped parcel of land having an area of approximately 0.21 hectares or 0.52 acres to be used as a lot addition to an abutting property located to the east of the subject property. As the lands proposed to be severed are within the HBR-4 zone of the local planning bylaw, with added provision to permit a furniture repair and refinishing establishment, while the lands to which the severed parcel are proposed to be added to are within the HBR zone, Without these added provisions, a recommended condition of consent has been included to place the severed parcel within the HBR zone to ensure that the resultant lot conforms to local zoning for the intended use and that the application maintains consistency with the intent of criteria of the county official plan. The subject lands are located at Lot 26, RCP 458, Wallace Ward, in the municipality of North Perth. The municipal address is 6683 Perth Line 88, Kurtzville. The proposed retained lot would continue to be an irregular shaped interior lot having frontage of approximately 38.2 meters or 125 feet along Perth Line 88, a lot depth of approximately 126 meters or 415 feet, and a lot area of approximately 0.69 hectares or 1.7 acres. The proposed retained lot contains a single detached dwelling with an accessory shed and is unaffected by this bylaw. The proposed severed parcel is vacant and is intended to be added to the rear yard of an abutting lot. The resulting enlarged parcel would have an unchanged frontage of 37.18 meters or 122 feet along Perth Line 88, a new lot depth of approximately 126 meters or 415 feet, and a new lot area of approximately 0.41 hectares or 1.01 acres. The lot to which the severed parcel is proposed to be added to currently has a lot area of approximately 0.2 hectares or 0.549 acres. Amendments to zoning bylaws must be consistent with the provincial policy statement. Policies related to this zoning bylaw amendment include the management and direction of land use in settlement areas. The property is within the settlement area designation hamlets found on Schedule A or land use plan on Schedule A2-1 in the Kurtzville County Official Plan. Official plan policies of particular relevance to this application include lot size, lot enlargement, and general policies related to the village and hamlets. The land proposed to be severed is within the Hamlet Village residential zone of the municipality of North Perth zoning. Notwithstanding the provisions of the HVR zone, the HVR-4 zone also permits a furniture repair and refinishing establishment. The lands to which the severed parcel is proposed to be added to are within the Hamlet Village residential zone of the municipality zoning bylaw. Section 6.5.5.8 concerning lot enlargement of the County of Perth official plan provides 5 criteria that must be satisfied for consents proposing to enlarge existing lots within the designated hamlet area. Of particular concern to this application are criteria C, stating that the area to be severed for lot enlargement purposes should be minimal in size and appropriate for the proposed use, and criteria D, stating that all lots involved in consent application must be in conformity with the provisions of the local municipalities implementing zoning bylaw. The primary effects of the consent application would be a 74.92 meter or 245 feet rear extension to the interior lot line along the west side of the lot, located at 6681 Perth Line 88, thereby resulting in a deeper rear yard that would have comparable length to the adjacent property found to the west at 6683 Perth Line 88. The zoning bylaw requires a minimum lot area of 1,850 square meters or 20,000 square feet for single detached dwellings within the Hamlet Village residential zone. The proposed retained lot and the enlarged lot would each meet this minimum requirement. Section 14.2.2 of the zoning bylaw requires a minimum lot frontage of 24 meters or 80 feet. Both the retained lot and the enlarged lot would each exceed this minimum requirement. Should the zoning bylaw amendment be approved and all other conditions of the consent application satisfied, the boundaries of the retained and enlarged lots would be reconfigured such that they would be more consistent with the general pattern and size of existing residential lots found in the immediate area, particularly along the south side of Perth Line 88. The severed parcel will be placed within the Hamlet Village residential zone and will not permit the site-specific provisions found in HVR-4, allowing a furniture repair and refinishing establishment. The lot would continue to be used for residential purposes as permitted and encouraged in this location by the official plan. The proposed zoning bylaw amendment has been found to be consistent with the provincial policy statement and is in general conformity with the County of Perth official plan. For these reasons, it's the staff's recommendation that the Council of Municipality of North Perth approve the application for zoning bylaw amendment, removing the site-specific provision permitting a furniture repair and refinishing establishment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. That was very concise and expertly prepared. My congratulations on your first presentation, I think, to this council. At this time, I'd like to call on the clerk to give us some details. I'm going to ask her to deal with items 4 and 5 on the typical agenda of this meeting, which are notice of public meeting details and any correspondence, comments, and reports received to this date. Just let me set up the AV for that.
Notices inviting persons to the public meeting were mailed on March the 19th, 2021 by first-class mail to landowners within 120 meters of the subject property and emailed to all applicable agencies. The notice was posted on the municipal website and on the subject property on March the 19th, 2021, advising of the public meeting. And as of tonight, prior to the beginnings of tonight's public meeting, I have not been in receipt of any correspondence.
Thank you, Clerk Fairfeltz. That brings us to the opportunity for input from those who are gathered for the purposes of this public meeting. At this time, any of those who are in support of the application, other than the direct applicant, may address this council in this public meeting. Anyone wish to take advantage of that? Clerk Fairfeltz, were we given any advance notice of individuals with that desire or not? Okay, so that moves us to those who stand in opposition to this application. They may now have the opportunity to present their comments. Clerk Fairfeltz, are we aware of any individuals who've expressed that desire? And the indication for the benefit of council is no. Finally, that presents the opportunity to the applicant or the applicant's agent to speak to this proposition. Would any of those present like to take advantage of this opportunity? We're not seeing an expression of interest at this point from the applicant or their agent. It is available to us, council, should we have questions at this point. Let's bring that then to our next item in the public meeting, which is to ask if there are any comments from council members on this application. To express interest in asking questions, please use the chat function and the clerk will maintain the speaking order. Are we seeing anything, Clerk Fairfeltz? No. Okay. So, council, we're not seeing any questions or comments from you at this point in time. I will give the statutory notice. Notice of the decision will be given in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act. The council's decision is subject to appeal to the local planning appeal tribunal in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act. And that brings to an end our public meeting. Council, for the sake of resuming our council meeting, I have a resolution for our consideration that reads as follows: that the public meeting for the purpose of a Planning Act application is now adjourned at 7:35 p.m. and the council reconvene into regular open council. Can I call on Councillor Johnston to be our mover for this one?
Yes, I would move that.
Thank you. And Councillor Richardson, will you serve as our seconder?
Yes, I will second that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any discussion or debate on returning to our regular council meeting? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you. We'll bring our council meeting back into session at this point. And council, at this point, we have some business that we can transact or at least consider with regards to this matter. Have both a resolution and a bylaw. The resolution reads as follows: that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth approve the application for zoning bylaw amendment, removing the site-specific provision permitting a furniture repair and refinishing establishment number B36-20 by Melissa and Brian Breers on behalf of Catherine Morton respecting lands described as Lot 26, RCP 458, Wallace Ward, Municipality of North Perth, 6683 Perth Line 88, Perthsville. The proposal is consistent with the Provincial Policy Statement 2020, conforms to the policies of the County of Perth Official Plan, and meets the provisions of the North Perth zoning bylaw. Can I call on Councillor Rothwell to serve as our mover for that one?
Also move, yes.
Thank you. And Councillor Seiler, will you be our seconder?
I will second that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any discussion or debate on the resolution? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you. And next we have the bylaw. It's an amendment here. Bylaw number 34-2021 being a bylaw to amend the North Perth zoning bylaw number 6-ZB-1999 as amended. Be introduced, read, and considered read a first, second, and third time, and be finally passed. The said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Councillor Andreessen, will you serve as our mover for that one?
Yes, I'll make that motion. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Anstep, will you serve as our seconder?
Yes, I would second that motion. Thank you.
Thanks. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you very much. That brings us to agenda item number 5, reports from departments and key staff. We have 2 reports this evening under 5.1 from the CAO's department. For item 5.1.1, Council is presented with a report updating it on the state of work of the Climate Change Coordinator. As Council will remember, this office is an employee of the Municipality of North Perth. I will call on CAO Chris Snell to provide the report. Mr. Snell.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. As mentioned by the Mayor, this is really an update just on the current status of the Climate Change Coordinator. Council will be happy to note that all the participating municipalities did agree to extend the contract to December 31st with a possible extension for 2022. Also, many of you are aware that the current Climate Change Coordinator resigned effective March 12th, and we have begun the process of replacing this position. And actually, we had interviews this week that went very well, and so we hope to be making an announcement soon. The new Climate Change Coordinator will review the plan as completed by the previous Climate Change Coordinator and prepare presentations for Council, hopefully in the near future. So I'm prepared to answer any questions that Council may have.
Thanks, Mr. Snell. Councillors, any questions or first comments on this? Okay, we're not seeing any, so I have a resolution for our consideration that reads as follows, that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth receive the Climate Change Coordinator and GHG Plan Update Report for information. Can I call on Councillor Behrens to serve as our mover on this?
Yes, I will move that motion.
Thank you. Councillor Duncan, will you serve?
Yes, I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you very much. Next up is item 5.1.2. In this, CAO Snell brings forward a recommendation initiated by a citizen and supported by local OPP leadership pertaining to the establishment of a safe e-commerce exchange zone in North Perth. This matter affects our property. I'm going to ask Mr. Snell for an introduction. Mr. Snell.
Thank you again, Mayor. As mentioned, a local resident has requested that we consider a safe trade zone. So really, as more private businesses conducted online, there has been a nationwide increase in crimes reported as a result of these transactions. So the OPP have created Project Safe Trade, which establishes safe trade zones in parking lots at OPP detachments. And of course, the OPP detachment parking lot is the municipal parking lot in our case. So that is why working with the local OPP and the citizen, we are recommending that council consider 2 parking spots be designated at the North Perth Municipal Office as safe trade zones. They will be signed, but they would be available also for regular use for people visiting the municipal office if it was required, just because our office can become very busy from the sort of 9 to 5 business day. In talking to the OPP, most of these transactions will occur after hours or on the weekends. So we don't see the conflict happening very much. There's very minimal cost to this measure, but I do think it's one of those things that does increase our community safety, and staff is recommending that we proceed with the project. Prepared to answer any questions council may have.
Thanks, CEO Snell. Comments, questions at this point from council before we consider resolution? Councillor Duncan first.
Just wondering, Chris, will there be any sort of video surveillance on the 2 parking spots, or is that we're not going to go that far?
At this time, we're not going to go that far. It's just felt that it's in an OPP area that's in a well-lit parking spot.
Councillor Anstead is next.
Thanks, Mayor Kasenberg, through you. And that was the exact same thing I was going to ask as what Councillor Duncan asked. So thank you.
Sounds like that might be a popular idea, Chris. Okay, any other questions or first comments? We're not seeing any, so I have a resolution. I think staff may wish to consider the fact that there were a few who were asking that question and consider what might be done there. But the resolution reads as follows: that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth received the report titled E-Commerce Safe Trade Zone Proposal as information, and that staff are directed to implement the OPP Project Safe Trade project at the North Perth Municipal Administration Office. And I call on Deputy Mayor Kellum to be our mover for that.
Yes, a really good idea. I've been asked about this many times, so yes, I will move that. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Johnston, will you serve as our seconder tonight?
Yes, I would definitely second that.
Great. Some enthusiasm here. That's interesting. All right. Any discussion or debate? Okay, let's have the vote. And that is carried. I think that now that spring has come, there's a spring in our step or something. I don't know. I think that's a possibility. All right. Thank you. And that ends the reports from the CEO's department. Thanks, Chris, for your team's work. Next up then is item 5.2, reports from the clerk's department. For item 5.2.1, this council is invited to express an opinion on a proposal heading to Industry Canada to erect a communications tower in North Perth. I'm going to call on planner Sean Yilmaz, who's handled this file thus far, for some brief comments on this. Welcome again, Mr. Yilmaz.
Thank you, Mayor Kasenberg. So Jacqueline Johnston of Tango Networks Incorporated, on behalf of ExploreNet Communications Incorporated, has requested a letter of concurrence from the Municipality of North Perth in an effort to complete the required consultation process in support of a proposed 45-meter or 148-foot communications tower at 5791 Line 89 in Gowanstown. Excuse me. As a result, the municipality has requested a letter of undertaking between the proponent and the municipality. The proposed installation is a light-duty self-support style communication structure. The tower installation is a triangular structure and will be 45 meters in height and occupy a footprint of approximately 3 meters by 3 meters. The federal government regulates communications facilities and structures through Industry Canada and are not subject to municipal or provincial planning approvals. Additionally, additional regulatory authorities include the Canadian Radio, Television and Telecommunications Commission, NAV Canada, and Transport Canada. The applicant has completed a public circulation and consultation, which was undertaken in accordance with the default ID public consultation process found in the CPC 2003 Radio Communication and Broadcasting Antenna Systems document. Information brochures were sent to the immediate neighbors of the proposed site, and a newspaper posting was included in the list will banner. No public comment or concern was received to date, and I believe the commenting period is completed. Staff has no concerns pertaining to the consultation process associated with the proposal and acknowledges the conclusion of consultation procedures. As such, staff is recommending that council concur with the resolution and enter into a letter of undertaking with the proponent. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Yilmaz. Councillors, any questions or first comments on this matter? Okay, we're not. Councillor Rothwell, please.
Thanks very much, Mayor Todd, and thanks, Sean, for your report. Previously, we had conversations, some of the councillors that were at the both the AMO conference as well as the Roma conference previously had conversation with ExploreNet on this matter and tried to encourage and support ExploreNet to do some additional outreach in terms of having more significant signal. I'm thinking of Councillor Andreessen in particular, had raised this issue of concern, and I'm certainly in support of this proposal to extend the reach of broadband out into this part of North Perth. Thank you.
Councillor Andreessen is next.
Yes, thank you. Just further to Councillor Rothwell's comments, it is really good to see some extended coverage in terms of Wi-Fi ability here in Wallace. We certainly have concerns with that inability to do business and to, just seek this type of service in this particular area of North Perth. And while we see some great efforts happening in the other parts of North Perth, it's great to see some efforts and some change made and done to support Wallace. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Andreessen. It certainly is worthy of note that there is an ambitious proposal. It's sort of circulating for SWIFT 2.0, which would greatly enhance internet access throughout most of rural southwestern Ontario. There are a number of other initiatives that have become available, as I'm sure most of council knows, through various governments, including the province's announcement in its recent budget to top its contributions up to $4 billion over the next 5 years, I believe it is. So the broadband file is starting to receive quite a bit of momentum, and opportunity like this as well, as you said, to expand through business support is much appreciated in context. Okay, any other comments or first? Yeah, okay. So I have a resolution then for our consideration that reads as follows: that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth concur that the proposal by ExploreNet Communications Inc. to erect a communication tower installation on lands known as Part Lots 19 and 20, Concession 6, 5791 Line 89, Gallenstown, Wallace Ward, is fully compliant in the municipality's opinion with the requirements of Industry Canada's Radio Communications and Broadcasting Antenna Systems Protocol, CPC 2-0-03. All obligations for the municipality and public consultation requirements of the CPC have been satisfactorily met. Councillor Richardson, can I call on you to serve as our mover for that?
Yes, I would happily move that. Thank you.
Thanks. And Councillor Rothwell, can I call on you to be our seconder?
Yes, I will second the motion.
Thank you. Any discussion or debate? Let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you very much. That moves us on to item 5.3 on our agenda. And for item 5.3, tonight we don't have a report indicated from our manager of programs tonight, but let me say this, when the pandemic programs are changed by the province, the busiest team in our organization, I swear, is the programs department. They have lots of things to button down and I's to cross and I's to dot and T's to cross. So they've been doing a really great job to work towards community wellness in the face of this current shutdown effort. And I appreciate all that I see from them. Let's move then to item 5.4, reports from the Treasury and Finance Department. As item 5.4.1, finance staff has brought forward for council review of accounts as of this day, April 12th, 2021. I will note that some councillors have declared potential pecuniary interest in this item and will absent themselves from consideration and voting. Are there any questions about this matter for staff? Seeing none, I have a resolution that reads as follows. The following summary of accounts be received by council for information. The total on the bottom line is $4,612,752.62. Can I call on Councillor Seiler to be our mover?
I'll move that. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Andreessen, will you serve as our seconder?
Yes, I'll second that motion. Thank you.
Thanks. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you very much. Next up then is item 5.4.2. We're presented with the annual accounts write-off report. This outlines items that are receivables to the corporation that further collection actions are believed will not yield payments towards. And I think the report is fairly straightforward, but if council has questions, Ms. Hale is with us. Council, any questions or first comments on this matter? We're not seeing any indication of that, so I have a resolution then that reads as follows: that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth approve the write-off of accounts listed in the report totaling $5,920.77, including applied interest. Can I call on Councillor Anstett to be our mover for that one?
Yes, I would move that. Thank you.
Thanks. Councillor Behrens, will you serve as our seconder?
Yes, I will. Thank you.
Thanks. Any discussion, debate on this one? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And we're missing one.
I am in favor, Mayor Kasenberg.
Thanks, Councillor Behrens. So with that, that's carried. Thank you. That brings us to item 5.4.3. This matter is related to the Treasury bringing forward an accounting action that will support the use of funds in the Development Charge Reserve account. I think for this one, I am going to call on Ms. Hale just for brief comments to orient us to this one. Ms. Hale?
Thank you, Mayor Kasenberg, members of council. Yes, this is always a positive situation where we're able to take some of our development charges reserve from and bring it into revenue for the year. And as you can see from the chart, we were able to bring in $1,732,848.38 to help us with our 2020 projects. During the year, through the building department, we were able to collect $2,768,633.44. And of course, they're spread over the different projects that were outlined in the development charges background study. And so tonight, I'm just asking council's approval to complete that transaction by withdrawing the $1.7 million for use in 2020.
Thanks, Ms. Hale. Any questions or first comments from council on this matter? Okay, we're not seeing any. We have two items that transact here for our consideration. The first is a resolution that reads as follows: that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth. I'm struggling with the word municipality tonight. I don't know what that's about. Receive the report Municipality of North Perth Development Charges Reserve Fund as of December 31st, 2020 for information and acknowledgement of the financial impact the adjustments to general revenues will have on the 2020 financial statements. Can I call on Councillor Duncan to be our mover for that?
Yes, I'll move that.
Thank you. And Deputy Mayor Callum, will you serve as our seconder?
Yes, I will second that motion.
Thank you. Any discussion or debate on that one? All right, let's have that vote. And that's carried. I tell you, municipality is like the worst word to get tongue twisted around in a council meeting. Okay, next is a bylaw resolution, council, for your consideration. The bylaw number 36-2021 being a bylaw of the Municipality of North Perth to authorize the withdrawal and transfer of development charges funding to revenue be introduced, read, and considered read a first, second, and third time, and be finally passed, and the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk. And I call on Councillor Johnston to be our mover for that.
Yes, I would so move.
Thank you. And Councillor Richardson, will you serve as our seconder?
I would second that. Thank you.
Thank you. We don't need the seal of the corporation on this one, too. It wasn't in the resolution. We will require the seal of the corporation. I thought so. And sealed with the seal of the corporation. There's a little bit of text missing in the document sitting here. All right. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you very much. Next up, in item 5.4.4, council is invited to authorize the signing by the mayor and the clerk of an agreement with Ontario's Ministry of Transportation for the receipt by the municipality of $80,099 for the dedicated purpose of operating accessible transit services. Ms. Hale, did you want to make any brief comments on this one?
Thank you, Mayor Kasenberg, members of council. We are receiving this for our VON contract and provide special transportation for our municipality. And this year's allocation, as Mayor Kasenberg mentioned, is $80,000. Oops, where'd it go? $80,090, and will be put in reserve for VON use as they provide us with the service.
Thanks. Ms. Hale, any questions or first comments from council? Okay. I have a resolution then. It's a bylaw resolution for consideration. It reads as follows: that bylaw number 39-2021 being a bylaw to authorize the signing of a letter of agreement with Her Majesty the Queen in right of the province of Ontario, represented by the Minister of Transportation for the province of Ontario, be introduced, read, and considered read a first, second, and third time, and be passed, finally passed, and the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Can I call on Councillor Rothwell to be our mover for that one?
I so move.
Thank you. And Councillor Seiler, will you serve as our seconder?
I will second that.
Thank you. Any discussion or debate? Okay, let's have that vote. And that is carried as well. Thank you. That moves us to item 5.5, reports from the Manager of Environmental Services. Tonight we have 2 items from that department. Item 5.5.1 provides council with minutes of the annual DWQMS infrastructure meeting, which was held on October 28th, 2020, and the DWQMS infrastructure review report. I'll invite Mr. Mark Hackett, our Manager of Environmental Services, for his introduction and presentation on this matter. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you, Mayor Kasenberg and Council. This is an annual component of the DWQMS operational plan. It involves meeting with the Chief Administrative Officer, myself, the Manager of Operations, and all of the waterworks staff. And we review the existing infrastructure components, including the well system buildings, treatment process equipment, distribution system elements, system hardware and software. And we do this to prioritize things. When we look at this information, we're looking at infrastructure reviews from previous years. We're looking at water audits, waterworks staff recommendations, Ministry of the Environment, Conservation and Parks inspection reports, and maintenance records. And we use this information then to plan for upcoming projects that may be required. One of the things that we're required to do is have a 10-year plan, and that is included in the minutes. As the mayor mentioned, the meeting was on October 28th of 2020. The minutes are attached. If there's any questions about any of that, I would be happy to take them.
Thanks, Mr. Hackett. Council, any questions or first comments? Councillor Andreessen?
Yes, thank you. Through you, Mayor Kasenberg. I just had a question for clarification for Mr. Hackett. In the plan, it noted that there would be a new listable well in 2027. And is that a replacement well, or would that be an additional well? Thank you.
Yes, thank you. That would be an additional well. And again, that long-term forecast is kind of fluid a bit. It's our best efforts of what we think. Whether or not we actually need a new well at that time, that probably a few years ago we would have had that marked up in 2022 or 2023. But so it's in there, but it's not a replacement well. It is a new well.
Any further questions? I have a resolution for our consideration. It reads as follows: that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth receive the DWQMS Infrastructure Review Report and the attached Infrastructure Review meeting minutes dated October 28th, 2020 as information. Can I call on Councillor Andreessen to be our mover for that?
Yes, certainly. I'll make that motion.
Thank you. And Councillor Anstead, will you serve as the seconder on that one?
Yes, I would second that motion. Thank you.
Thanks. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you. Next up, again, Mr. Hackett joins us to provide council with minutes of the annual DWQMS Management Review meeting of March 25th, 2021, and the DWQMS Management Review report. Take it away, Mr. Hackett.
Yes, thank you again. This again is an annual component of the DWQMS operational plan. We meet with top management to evaluate the.
Mr. Rothwell.
Thanks, Mayor Todd, and thanks very much, Mark, for your report. I concur with your recommended pathway forward. It's always nice to guide us through those specific changes, and I appreciate you taking the time tonight. Thank you.
No problem.
Anyone else, Clerk Bartholz? Okay, so I have a resolution for our consideration. Reads as follows: that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth receive the attached management review meeting minutes dated March 25th, 2021, and the current North Perth Water Systems operational plan as information. Can I call on Councillor Behrens to be our mover for that?
Yes, I will move that motion. Thank you.
Thanks. And Councillor Duncan, will you serve as our seconder?
Yes, I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote.
And 88 as potential candidates for resurfacing this year. However, the section of 89 between 157 and 152 is even more deteriorated come the spring, and it was recommended that we pulverize and pave that section and do shoulder rebuilding as well. So in front of you is a recommendation to move forward with the low bid.
Thanks, Mr. Couch. Council, any comments or first comments or questions? We're not seeing any, so I have a resolution for consideration. The Council of the Municipality of North Perth award the tender for hot mix pavement North Perth Line 89 to Cox Construction Limited in the amount of $353,170.40, HST excluded. Deputy Mayor Kellum, can I call on you to serve as our mover for that?
Yes, I'll make that motion.
Thank you. And Councillor Johnston, will you serve as our seconder?
Yes, I will second that.
Thank you. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you very much. Thanks, Mr. Couch. Again, your team as well, all the work that you're doing. The spring is a busy season. We appreciate seeing so much happening all at once, it seems. Carry on with our best wishes. Next up then is item 5.7. This is reports from the fire department. In item 5.7.1, council is asked to formulate an agreement with the province of Ontario via the Office of the Fire Marshal of Ontario to receive a fire safety grant pertaining to our intention to support firefighter training costs. I'll call on Fire Chief Ed Smith for introduction to this. Chief Smith, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Kaysenberg, members of council. As you remember, on March 11th, the Office of the Fire Marshal announced the fire safety grant, which was available to be used to support training or support virtual inspection programs. After reviewing what we could in the short period of time we were given, we felt it was best used for our training program. So we went out and started looking at other programs again, and we want to keep our training based on the NFPA codes and standards. And the application was submitted to the Fire Marshal's office on March 18th. That was the direction the North Perth Fire Department was going to go, was for the training. So then the next step in the process required the attached fire safety grant transfer payment agreement to be signed by the Municipality of North Perth and returned to the Office of the Fire Marshal, accompanied by a resolution from the Council of the Municipality of North Perth. You can see that it's quite a lengthy document for the amount of funds that they are supporting us with, but I guess we can't be choosy in how much money they're giving us. At least we're getting something in respect to the closing of the fire college. So when we take this program on, as council wishes, we would continue with the program through our training budget for the years coming forward. When our fund was given to us, of course we'll not be receiving another fund, but we would use our training money that we have to continue with this training program.
Thanks, Chief. We'll ask here, council, any questions or first comments on this matter? We're not seeing any. Okay, so I have a resolution then for our consideration. That the Council of the Municipality of North Perth supports the North Perth Fire Department using the funds received from the Office of the Fire Marshal Fire Safety Grant to purchase an online training program for firefighters written to NFPA's codes and standards, and that the mayor of the municipality of North Perth be authorized to execute the respective fire safety grant transfer payment agreement with Her Majesty the Queen and Right of Ontario as represented by the Office of the Fire Marshal. Can I call on Councillor Richardson to be our mover for that one?
I will move that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Rothwell, will you serve as our seconder?
Yes, I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Any discussion or debate on this one? We're not seeing any, so let's have that vote. Councillor Richardson, we're not tracking your vote. What say you?
I am in favor.
Thank you. So with that, we'll call it carried. For some reason, there was a disconnect there. Councillor Richardson might need to reload describe. Okay, thank you. Brings us to item 6 on our agenda. For item 6.1, councillors, are there any reports you would like to ask of staff or our committees? Again, as usual, to request an opportunity to speak, indicate in the chat function, and we'll manage the list. Do we have anything, Clerk Perfeltz? Not at this time. Okay. We have received no additional items of correspondence beyond those already shared in the consent agenda for council's disposition. That brings us to item 8 on our agenda, which allows council to consider and enact bylaws. Turning to item 8.1, council is asked to enact a bylaw to appoint an acting chief building official. Clerk Perfeltz, any comments on this one before we move forward? She's nodding yes, so let me just sort of set this up. Give me a moment.
So council, since Dave Wilson's leaving North Perth, Dave Culp has taken over those responsibilities. Tonight's bylaw will designate Dave to take on the CBO responsibilities in the absence of our CBO Ed Podnowitz. This is important for business to continue while I believe Ed takes a well-deserved break. Hopefully council agrees with me in that endorsement.
Thank you, Clerk Perfeltz. Any questions or comments from anyone? Okay, let me read the resolution that we have into the record here. That bylaw number 37-2021 being a bylaw to appoint an acting chief building official. Be introduced, read, and considered read a first, second, and third time, and be finally passed. And that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. And I call on Councillor Seiler to be our mover for this.
I'll move that.
Thank you. And Councillor Andreessen, will you serve as our seconder?
Yes, I'll second that motion. Thank you.
Thanks. Any discussion or debate? We're not seeing any indication, so let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you. Okay, that moves us along to item 9 on our agenda. Are there any notices of motion from councillors attending tonight? Don't see anything. So that's a no. That means we'll move on to item 10 on our agenda. I can think of one really important announcement, but I'll let a councillor pick that one up. Maybe someone who really loves the game of golf. For item 10.1, are there any announcements that would be of benefit to our community or that reflect well on North Perth at this time? If you'd like to speak in the web chat window, don't all scramble at once. Well, that's another goal. Councillor Richardson.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Kasenberg, I would just like to extend congratulations to Corey Connors for a fabulous round of the golf at the Masters down in Augusta, Georgia this weekend. He certainly did Listowel proud, and even better by scoring an ace on Saturday. So everybody was glued to their TVs for the 4 rounds of golf that we had, and was enjoyed by all. And kudos to Corey. He's a credit to North Perth, and he did a great job. So thank you.
Well said. Thank you very much. Councillor Rothwell?
Thanks, Mayor Todd. I'd like to introduce council to one of the newest members of our community. Her name is Charlotte Grace Byman, a daughter of Mary and Tony Byman. Mary is our daughter, and Charlotte was born March 29th, 2 weeks ago today, 7 pounds, 13 ounces. Mom, daughter, and dad are doing very well.
Councillor Rothwell and Nancy and mom and dad, my heartiest congratulations. It seems that grandchildren are breaking out in this council. If only the magic would occur for my family. Congratulations. Very, very hearty best wishes on this. How wonderful. Any other announcements? Deputy Mayor Kellum, please.
My chat function has been working all night, but that's okay. But yes, concur with Councillor Richardson. I spent about 10 hours Saturday and Sunday inside instead of outside, so I have some yard work to do. But also I was 2 minutes late for the council meeting, Mayor Kasenberg, listening to your great comments on CTV News. Well done.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I had to plead and beg that they wouldn't ask any golf questions. So there you go. Thank you. And we think that's everybody. Thank you very much. Number of good news stories tonight. That's wonderful. We have 3 matters before us to be considered in a closed session of council. So I'm going to read the resolution that explains and enables our action to enter into closed session at this time. It reads as follows: that this committee proceed in camera at 8:23 p.m. to address matters pertaining to 1, a proposed or pending acquisition sale of land for municipal or local board purpose regarding property described as 280 Elma Street North, North Perth. Sorry, 280 Elma Street, North Perth. Too many words in there. Number 2, personal matters relating to an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, regarding the North Perth Fire Department and the wastewater treatment plant. I think that covers it, right? Very good. Okay, can I call on Councillor Anstett to be our mover for this?
Yes, I would move that motion. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Barons, will you serve as our seconder?
Yes, I will second that motion. Thank you.
Thanks. Anyone have any comments before we go to a vote on this one? All right, seeing none, let's have that vote. And Councillor Sadler, we're not recording your vote, but say you. Councillor Seiler, there we go. And so that is carried. Council, that means that we are temporarily adjourned from session. We are going to hear the audio-visual parameters here that allow us to keep our meeting confidential, and we'll be back. Why don't we take a 10-minute break at this point? We'll start at 8:35. We believe we've reinitiated the YouTube feed, and so we think we're good. I'm sure we'll hear soon enough if someone is concerned that we're not seeing it on YouTube. But maybe our trusty YouTube accreditor, Councillor Richardson, can have a peek and just see if it's running for us on YouTube.
We are live on YouTube.
Oh, great. Thanks, man. Okay, so with regards to item 12 on our agenda tonight, we have nothing at this hour to report with regards to matters that were discussed in a closed session of council. And the clerk has asked me for a small boon here. She would like to introduce a matter as seeking some council approval for a brief matter, which I think is reasonable under the circumstances. So I'm going to mute myself so that the clerk can weigh in. Hold on.
Council, this opportunity was actually just brought to myself over the weekend and today from our planner, Sean Ilmez. And CEO Snell can certainly pipe in and help me with this request. But the county has received a request for a modification to a plan of subdivision in the municipality of North Perth. And we have learned, and Chris has had more conversations on this than I have, that it's going to instill some great public concerns, and Planner Ilmaz would like the opportunity to go to a public session. And I think that this public session is going to take more time than what we could place into a regular council meeting. So I'm asking tonight if council would agree to a special council meeting on Wednesday, April the 28th, to hear from the county staff as well as the public that are concerned with these modifications. And Chris, if you can further add more to that, I'd appreciate it.
And so my understandings from discussions with Sally and Sean is that this would not be necessarily a formal public meeting under the Planning Act, but it would be a public information session because it is modifications to an existing subdivision, and planning staff feel that the modifications are fairly minor in nature, but yet potentially, as Pat has said, there may be some questions from the public. So that's sort of my understanding at this point. It would be information session, and that of course would ultimately any of that information would go to county council prior to their approval of the plan modification.
The clerk is advising as well in the chamber that that people would have the opportunity to register to make comment on this matter as well. But there's a sense that there will be an intense community interest potentially, and we may need to set aside a specific time to execute an appropriate meeting format for that. I mean, I think the obvious question is anyone on council seriously opposed to doing something on that Wednesday night for the purposes described? Are we seeing anything? Okay. So council, at this point, we'll assume that your silence is consent to proceed, and we'll leave that in the hands of staff to proceed. Do you need direction, Pat, or are we okay just with the general consensus expressed here? Okay. You need direction from the mayor, so I can direct you. You could tell me. I can tell you to create this. Oh well, very good. Rare opportunity. Okay, we want council to be in attendance. Very good. All right. So thank you, council, for considering that at the last minute, and we'll proceed with that. I'll give Pat that instruction to proceed. Alan, did you have something to comment on this matter?
Well, just a question. Is there actually enough time? Like we said, this is an information session, but so we've got today's the 12th, and we're saying the 28th, is that right? So 2 weeks notice or whatever. Is that enough time to actually give notice to these people, the surrounding property owners? I mean, we don't even know where the subdivision is, so. Or did you say? And I just didn't hear.
Yeah, I'm going to invite Clerk Barfeldts in. Just give me 1 second.
So in speaking with Sean, who has in turn received his direction from Sally, from the County of Perth Planning Department, that if council agrees to the date, they're quite prepared to send out their notices first thing in the morning. They're just basically waiting on this decision, and that they feel that the 14 days is sufficient. Now, that is their decision, and that's what they're telling me.
And if I might, where is this subdivision? Like which one are we talking about?
Okay, the clerk has asked that CAO will decide whether that should be divulged at this point.
It's the final stage of Emerald Green.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks. All right, so we will proceed to the end. Thank you, Council, for that and for your questions and impressions about our process. That's very helpful. That brings us to item 13. Council, as a mandated good practice, acts near the end of its meeting agenda to confirm all of its actions and business of its meeting through what is called the Confirmatory Bylaw. I have a draft of that here. Let me pull it out of my book. Which reads as follows: that bylaw number 40-2021, being a bylaw to confirm generally previous actions of the council of the municipality of North Perth, be introduced, read, and considered read a first, second, and third time, and be finally passed, and said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Can I call on Councillor Andreessen to be our mover for this one?
Yes, I'll make that motion.
Thank you. And Councillor Duncan, will you serve as our seconder for this one?
Yes, I can second that.
Thank you. Any discussion or debate? I don't think we have e-scribe going, so this is an all opposed call. Anyone opposed? And we're not seeing anyone, so we'll call that carried. Thank you. Before I call for adjournment, Council, we certainly have completed quite a bit of deliberation tonight, taken action on a whole bunch of things. Any other business that needs to be attended to at this hour? Seeing none, the magical motion as follows: this council meeting adjourns at 9:30 p.m. to meet again for general council business on Monday, April 19th, 2021 at 7 p.m. Can I call on Councillor Anstett to be our mover for that?
Yes, I would move that motion. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Behrens, will you be our seconder?
Sure will.
Thank you. It's not debatable. Are there any opposed? And that then is carried. This council will meet again in its next regular meeting using digital enabling technologies on Monday, April 19th, 2021. We are adjourned. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.